All right. It is time again. Hey, Spare. Glad you can make it. Let's see here. Right. Well, first, I guess Spare was able to give it a test, and there were still some bugs, but because this is now something that I can't reproduce on the Nexus, it's not that I can't reproduce it, it's that I can't hear the problem. The debugging process is going to be too much back and forth, and so him and I are going to work on that offline. We've already started, and let me show you what we've got figured out so far. Get rid of that. There we go. So, I had what I used to have here after the sample would play was basically just this. And I'm sure, as some of you know, and some of you may not, the audio DMA requires that you're not in a tight loop. And apparently that was too tight a loop, and it was not playing sound correctly. Excuse me. So I replaced that with this raster counting code, which is the same thing what we had up above. And actually, in the long run, this is what we're going to want anyway, because I need to count how many frames have passed to know, well, either this or I need to check the bit that says the sample is done playing. Something. In fact, that's going to be more NTSC and PAL compatible, so I will probably do that, but we're not to that point yet. This mostly fixed the problem, but it's still, there's this, the sample's audible, and it mostly sounds right, but there's just these weird little random bits of noise. I thought originally that maybe it was somehow related to, wow, this track's a little loud, isn't it? I thought maybe it was somehow related to it was clipping, and that I turned it down to a true peak, as it had been a true peak 0, so now it's a true peak -2 decibels. And that actually that helped some, but there's still a bit of noise, so we need to solve that. As soon as we get it solved, then we'll start working on it on stream again. The next step, because the back and forth, it's relatively quick, but it's also something that's difficult to do on the stream. So yeah. So once we get that last bit sorted out for that, the next step is going to be adding in the code here that you can see on the screen, and adding this code in there to count when the sample is done playing, and then load up the actual program that is supposed to run afterwards. So that will be that. Now we're going to have a lot of options for that. The first one that, it's going to be important You know, the first one I develop will probably just be straight, where you'll tack on the next program at the end of it. It will DMA it down into place and just execute it. But I think we're also going to need an option to use Mirage's IFFL, so that if the program that's to follow is too big, then we can load it that way. This also has the advantage of us being able to use higher quality samples for a higher quality sample for the sample part, which it sounds okay now, but honestly the 8-bit, 16-bit is almost more noticeable than it being 8 kilohertz. And that's, you know, remind me next time we're testing Spare. One of the things that we might want to try is using a different sampling frequency, like 11 kilohertz instead of 8 kilohertz. I don't expect that would help, but it could. We'll try that. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there. Let's see here. I am in the process of trying to work out. Oh, wait. I want to, you know, I want to give a little bit of applause. Sparehead is a tech whisperer. More than once now, he doesn't have a whole lot of knowledge of the system or what it does, but he's just kind of randomly suggested things that have been very relevant to the problem at hand. Like, he was going, well, maybe it's some kind of infinite loop problem, and sure enough, that was the problem. It was that the infinite loop was too tight. So yeah, we really need to get you into full coder status, because you're a natural, man. Yeah. Okay, so what I was trying to say before, I shift topics a lot. It's kind of random, so bear with me. It's just, yeah, that's the way this is gonna go. So I am trying to dial in a streaming schedule. I think I've already mentioned this part. Right now, what I'm experimenting with is an hour and a half in Mountain Standard Time, which is GMT -7. Central European Time, which is GMT +1. And also Japanese Standard Time, which is GMT +9. Now, we don't have a lot of Japanese users. We do have at least one that I know of, but not a lot. But that also happens to feel like a decent time for the Australian audience that should make it viewable for most of the people there. And so what my goal will be, at least right now while I'm trying to sort this out, is to make to have a stream at 8 p.m. in each of those time zones. So that also means that especially on the weekends, most people should have a stream at 12 noon their time and a stream at 8 p.m. their time, but then the other one is going to be like 4 a.m. But that's 2 out of 3 streams that, if you're interested, you should be able to tune into. Yeah, let's see here. I think that's it for announcements. Well, the other thing I wanted to mention, I'm probably going to stop streaming for a few days around Christmas, obviously. I'm sure y'all were expecting that, but I'm expecting at least one more stream in about 8 hours, just to finish out Friday for me. And then, yeah, I don't know whether I intend to stream on Saturday or not. I mean, it's maybe. The other thing is that depending on how quickly the ILA debugging can get set up, we're still trying to solve the little niggling issues left in the console-like intros. So if I do stream tomorrow, it's going to be a little different. What I intend to do is live compose a Mega65 SID 2. This should be useful, not just interesting. I mean, you know, I hope it's interesting. I mean, people kind of like to see that sort of thing. But the other thing is anybody that is looking to learn how to use SID Step, this will be the first time that I've ever actually released anything like a tutorial. So, yeah, you won't have to be amazing to be able to figure out how to work with it. It's not the easiest tool in the world, but and that's what Mega Step is going to be so much better. I learned so much writing SID Step that yeah, Mega Step is. I know I'm tooting my own horn, but Mega Step is going to be freaking awesome. Oh. Well, this actually, while I'm here, there's some bugs here. Fixing the bugs. Yeah. It's because we had already determined that bit wasn't working. I need to come up here. Where did this come from? Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. It should have been mostly fine. In fact, for this part, I don't need that at all. I do for the rest of these. Let's do it. While we're here, I'm gonna clean up just a little bit before we shift gears. The draw-in loop is much more than just one inks, so I need to leave that there. And then get rid of that. That, yeah, don't need that part at all. Oh, the other thing that I plan on getting into this intro before lowering its priority, because I expect it's going to be something that I'm going to refine over time quite a bit. But before releasing it, I want to add another option up here that instead of using a sample, will just use the SID chip to kind of play the chords. This way, if you need a really small intro for some reason, don't have a sample at all. Okay, so Don't need that either because I am not, so I can just use inks there. All right, I think that's probably good for now. Okay. And I've had a few people suggest that I try to explain what I'm doing a little bit more clearly. One thing that somebody did ask was where I was finding. They thought I was using a website to look up all of the assembly language mnemonics, but I'm actually using the Mega65 Complete Compendium. That is the 1,200-page monstrosity. I say monstrosity, but it's got all the information. At least all the information that is documented. If it's documented, it's here somewhere. And in the appendix, there's a section here where it's after the 45GSO2 microprocessor, it then lists instruction sets. And that's where I'm getting all this stuff from. So yeah, reminding myself of how flags are affected, cycles, etc. So that basically, if you're intending to program for or even learn to program for the Mega65, you absolutely need the Complete Compendium. That is available out on if you go to the files host, that one I don't think always has the check it out. Onslaught to Fame released their that's all kinds of new stuff here. It's all right. But yeah, it looks like Ziggy uploaded their SIGGRAPH intro finally. That's awesome. There's some stuff out there that needs to be checked out. Okay, complete. There we go. And the thing is that when you open it up, you're gonna see this URL here. The latest version here might not be the latest one. Please check here. Rather than making you memorize URL, this is the easiest way to get to it. And then you click on that link, and it takes you to this page, and this will be the most recently built version of the documentation. So if you download it from here, then people won't give you a hard time for using an old version of the documentation if you try to ask questions that turns out the docs now cover. Well, they might still tell you to RTFM if you ask something that's known, but not all of us. Some of us try to be nice. Anyhow. Okay, so with that, let's see ILA Vivado. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so it's a core. I'm not sure that I I think I'm gonna have to either use the Nexus or have my real hardware to be able to use this, maybe? I mean, that makes sense, but I was kind of hoping for a debugger that wouldn't necessarily do true debugging, but would at least let me look at things. But yeah, it looks like maybe not. Okay. This is funny. For more information about the ILA core, see the Vivado Design Suite User Guide Programming and Debugging. You know, y'all could link to that. That would be user friendly. It's not there. Okay. Looks like somebody else has got a video explaining how to do it. So, but I'm not gonna sit here and stream for 45 minutes just looking at somebody else's video. So, let's see here. We're only 22 minutes. Did I stop streaming there for a while? No, okay. Because I had accidentally clicked the start recording button, and the pause button on it, and made it look like it had paused the live stream as well. Great, thanks. Yeah. So, yeah, we're not going to sit through 45 minutes of someone else's stream. That's kind of silly. So, what I'm going to do then, I guess, is let's maybe start working on a bit of music, shall we? Although, that does mean turning off Morty, and Morty is bleeding awesome. I love his music. It's only 2.5 minutes, so I think we should go ahead and let this song play out. It's what it's looking like. I'm pretty sure that it's not that hard to use with Vivado, but you have to. It's a core, so you still have to. And it looks like it's not just a core, but it's a core that has to be built with the core that you're debugging. So, yeah, this is something that I don't want to... This is complex enough and going to be slow enough that I don't want to learn it live, because it's going to mostly be me watching videos and reading documentation. And also, I put the Nexus away again already, so we couldn't test it today, even if, well, we could, but hauling out the Nexus and getting it all set up on my bed and everything is, yeah, it's time consuming. I do have, I am expecting to have a work surface sometime soon, so that I will be able to have that always available rather than such a pain to pull out. But I don't have that today. Hopefully I will be able to get to that after Christmas. Yeah. Okay, so that is, although I love Morty's music so much. I may have to play one more song before we stop this, if I have it in. Yeah, there it is. This is one of the greatest versions of acid jazz evening. For those of you who didn't weren't aware of the debacle, the original acid jazz evening was a mod tune. I don't remember exactly who it's by, but there was a really amazing 64 version of it, and Timbaland sampled it and tried to claim that it was his own original work. Now, I think if he just fessed up that it was a sample, it probably wouldn't have been a problem. But he lied through his teeth and said that it was his, he made it up, and that he was a SID genius when all he really did was just sample somebody else's work. And I'm a remixer. I got no problem with samples, but you should not lie about it. So, anyhow, let's listen to Morty's version of this, and then we'll get to work on making a new song. I'm not going to talk during this. Oh, God, I love Morty's work. Okay, so with that, for those of you whom, if, yeah, yeah, that's, I don't think we could even make the Mega 65 sound like that. Uh, yeah, but Morty is so good. It's just such amazing groove. Um, and as you can see here, I've actually got a number of tracks by him, so maybe at some point we'll do a Morty flood while I'm working, but not today. Uh, yeah, doesn't matter. Time to close that. These. And that. Whoops. No, we don't want to close that. We want to close that. It was trying to close my streaming software. Yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring up Ableton. Uh, so yeah, I'm gonna be giving away some of my secrets here. So yeah, this will show my process. Um, there's yeah. Um, the first thing is to pick the tempo, and in order to do that, because the SID step uses Vic timed music, it means that there's limits. Any tempo has to be either NTSC or PAL timed, and that means that there's only yeah, there it is. Basically, these are the only tempos you can really pick. Um, and I kind of like working in 93.75 for PAL because it's still a relative. Basically, both of these are good funk tempos, 112.5 and 93.75, and they work out also to a really good resolution. It's accurate to 128th note. They only really needed accurate to the 64th note, which, you guys will see why later. But, brain fart. Uh, but maximum um, resolution is terrific. Mega Step will have the option of doing CIA timing as well, which will mean that it will have MIDI resolution, which is, it's not measured in exact seconds, but instead you get 96 pulses per quarter note. So yeah, that's a really fine resolution, but um, that will allow us to create music that will retain any human, like you'll be able to play real MIDI and it will keep the timing that you played rather than need to be quantized. Not everybody's going to want that, but yeah, um, I want to have it as an option. And also, I have a particular groove that I tend to use, and it's kind of hard to do with Vic timing. Basically, because it requires 64th note accuracy, which, as you can see, there's only 3 tempos that have that, and 2 of them are really, really slow. 62.5 beats per minute is, yeah, that's not groove anymore. So essentially, I have one tempo to work with Vic timing, if I want accurate groove. Um, so, so we want 93.75. You know, I should remember that, shouldn't I? Now the other thing that I do, this is I do not usually start with the SIDs. I usually do, yeah. Um, I should probably share that spreadsheet at some point. Uh, or this, I should write an article for FileHost because, yeah, this is really useful information for composers. Not that we have a lot of them. I think we have, well, okay, as far as doing it this way rather than using Basic to do it, I think we have me. So, but I would really like to have more musicians working with us because bass needs more people. We need artists, we need musicians, we need people to, to we need more people. Um, we yeah, yeah, bass needs especially honestly artists. My God, we need pixel artists, and not just bass, but the community needs more artists. Um, that is, in my opinion, really our weakest point. So, that means that the first thing I'm going to need to do, since I am not working direct, I don't work directly against the SIDs when I first create the song. Instead, what I do is use some placeholder instruments, and then after I'm done getting a song that I like, then I convert it. Uh, I have this system that I use for basically outlining the song, and this is not how most people would probably do it. This is an area where my workflow is different. Like, I create this outline here up at the top of my um, tracks channels. I forget what they call them in Ableton. And the color of this empty MIDI clip is what type of segment that represents in uh, in the song. So, like green means it's the intro, and like this color of orange means that it's a verse, and that color of blue means it's a chorus, and then I also fills are just black. And I mean, this is just my style, so do not take this as necessarily the best way to do it, but it works. Um, and then for just instrumental bits, I have this kind of bluish white, and oh dang it, what happened? And then I use this color yellow for bridges, and red indicates the end. So I usually try to come up with a layout first, and then I compose to it. And the reason for this is because if I just compose, I tend to do things like not put these little fills, but those little fills give the song so much character. So they are super important. Um, and Yeah, a lot of the songs I've done lately have not had them because I've been kind of quick and hackish. The other thing, we're probably not going to have an ending because I am pretty much out of looping tracks in my slush pile. So we're going to need to create something that loops. Um, the difference, okay, like this, the instrumental uh, solos basically is what the white part is. And the difference between it and the verse, because the verse, even in the instrumental, like the chorus, it's always the same or always very similar because you want repetition in the repetition is what makes the song an earworm. It's what makes it stick in people's brains. What makes them going, man, I can't get it out of my head. You gotta have choruses. You should have it repeat if the song is not a looper, especially. Repeat 3 times. So, let's just move this over here for now, and I'm going to need at least 3 of those. So, the verses, especially when they're not when there's no vocals or anything like that, the way that I work with verses is that they have the same beat and the same harmony and bass, but with a different lead. And then with the solos, every single one of those sections is unique. So that's how I build it. I am with the intros. I kind of those are usually either a much uh, either the chorus or a verse with a lot less going on, like without the lead, with less beat going on, maybe just the hats, etc. So the verse is usually one of the easiest bits because I take something else off of the page here and I just copy it and then rip the bits out until I like how it sounds. So, yeah, let's see here. Oh, and how long do we want it? Because I'm starting to find that the loopers really work best if they're a bit on the short side. So, yeah, we're going to want 3 choruses. Well, since it's looping, we can probably get away with 2 because it's like about 2 minutes is actually a pretty good looper. You're usually going to have about the same number of verses as you would choruses, not always, but that's usually a safe place to start. Um, I'm not sure that I've left myself room. No, I got room for, I think, for 1 instrumental segment. And I think that after the bridge, that first bridge is although gonna I usually when I'm looping I usually like to have 2 bridges and that puts us at 2 minutes and 46 seconds, which is getting a little long. I mean, not super long for a looper, but a little long. I don't think that the fill, putting it right before the bridge just makes it a longer bridge. Although putting it at the end of the bridge actually has a cooler bit. But I'm kind of thinking that I'm going to put it here at least. I'm going to put it between the verse and the chorus. And to make it interesting, let's go ahead and the second part there, we're going to swap. Since there's going to be this instrumental here, after the instrumental, we want to bring it back to the chorus to kind of pull the listener back into the actual repetitive idea that we want to help make it an earworm. So I guess the question, yeah, no, that's we're gonna want another fill there. Uh, oh, There's a relatively simple structure. You know, I think though that I'm gonna make this fill 2 bars instead of 1. Yeah. So, all right, I think that's a good structure to start with. Uh, hey to everybody that's tuned in. We're doing something a little different here because the ILA stuff was something that I don't know enough about yet, and the best way to figure out how to get it set up, well, I don't know how easy it's going to be for me to do with what I've got right now. But I need to watch a 45-minute video, and I wasn't going to do that live on the stream. So instead, I am going to make a Mega65 tune using SID step. So that's what I'm talking about now, and you see basically I have gotten the outline created, and yeah, let's make that color. And I am often super lazy when it comes to naming the songs. I have this website, the fantasynamegenerators.com, and somewhere in here it will come up with random song titles. Yeah, there it is. It's under other names. Let's see here. Mostly, I tend to prefer either hip hop or jazz for the names. Let's see what it gives us. Although, actually, Motions of Fire. That sounds cool. Let's go with that. I like Motions of Fire. Yeah, especially if you play any kind of role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons or things that aren't Hasbro anymore. Because Wizards of the Coast, yeah, this year has been a real political nightmare for Dungeons and Dragons. It has been put on my list of things that I really don't like giving my chair anymore. So we'll call it Motions of Fire. That sounds great. Okay, so I am going to briefly need to run to the bathroom. And then when I get back, the next thing, what I always do next, is start laying out the beat. So yeah, this should be fun. Um, I'm gonna need before I leave, I'm gonna need to get my external hard drive spun up because I'm gonna be using some samples for the drums. So that was loud. Okay, so I will be back in just a minute. Right, that is much better. Now, first, before I actually toss together a quick kit, let's go ahead and just try. You know, I'm probably just going to use an 808. Yeah, I think that'll work just fine. Um, all right, so now we're getting into more of my technique that is very specific. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create another, actually, I'll just copy that one, another MIDI clip. And as you can see over here, it names each of the drums in the clip, which is useful. Um, and then I zoom in. This is where that 64th notes that I mentioned earlier, this is where this becomes important. Because the way that I create my beats, I always use the same groove. Um, it's specifically a 62.5% shuffle, which means that you have a note that is 5/64 notes, followed by a note that is 3/64 notes. And let me go ahead and show you what that sounds like as with just the hats. I always start with the hats in that groove. So here's that groove. This is a story all about Howards. So, it is a very common groove. Um, in fact, another name for it is the New York cut. Uh, I know I like Slink. DJ Slink is another composer that this is almost always the only groove he uses. So I start with that. Also gonna need basically the same thing for the chorus here. And since the chorus is always the same, oh right, well, the beat is always the same for each of them. So we'll come in here again, and we pretty much always want a kick on the one. So and this is also, again, we're really getting into my specific techniques. I usually only have one drum sound at a time for the most part. This is actually because on on the SIDs, especially on the 64, you didn't have that much space. It's hard to even get hats into a single SID too. Um, but so you start I create the hats and then I grab the individual notes and pull them up or down to where I want them in the song. So you always, or at least I always start out simple, kick, snare, and for the one, and the two. Um, as I get along into the loop, this gets more complex. So let's try this. Now let's. No, we don't want to get too crazy yet. I have gotten so much better at beats. Granted, I spent years and years and years focused on just making funk. So, no, I don't like that with an 808, though. Let's try a bit of call and response there. That. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. And then, similar to what I was saying about the repetition of the chorus, I also want to, uh, I repeat this first part gets repeated again. The first bar, it's bar, sorry. The first bar I repeat again in the third bar. And then for the second half of an 8-bar loop, I actually repeat all three of those. Yeah, okay. So we get this kind of repetition in repetition in repetition. Um, yeah, this is. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a while since I've built a beat, so I'm really enjoying this. And in the 4 and the 8 is usually where you want to go crazy. So let's. that sounds pretty hot. All right. Okay, and then usually at the end of the fray, the 8-bar phrase, I usually like to have drum rolls. That's going to be important. And let's get kind of a little square right at the end. Now, I don't like that. So let's get that. And let's not listen to the whole loop, just to. Syncopate it just a little more. Yeah, that's okay. So now, let's go ahead and listen to the whole loop. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. So we're going to use this one again for the other verse. Let's go ahead and do that. Get that laid out now. And I think I'm probably going to make the intro based on the chorus. Yeah, well, actually, dogs have surprisingly good rhythm. So let's go ahead and do the same thing for the chorus, which I tend to use different beats for each one. Now, when I'm making funk that isn't meant to go into a SID, there are other aspects of what I do that you won't see today. Excuse me. But as before, you know what? Hold on. No, I want. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, that was too soon. You gotta have a good crash at the beginning of your loop. DJs, need you to point them towards where the phrase is set. Not that this will be a DJ tune. Okay. Let's try that. It's so hard to get good hats. or open hats especially. I'm I do fine with closed hats, but open hats not always so much. Let's see. Yeah, this is sounding pretty good so far. Let's see here. All right. I'm not even sure what the rocket sound. Now that's too little sound to even bother trying. I think that's probably good. Okay. Okay, so now we'll work on the chorus. And usually, like, I usually make the chorus beat a little bit simpler just because that's that's the part where it's supposed to be the earworm, uh, the thing that anybody listening to it can, identify with easily. So let's try. Let's try this. Oh, that's not. That is not where that is. That's not where the kick. Oops. Kick should happen here. Let's try that early. I think that's maybe too early. Oh, that's right. This is the third bar, so we are duplicating the first bar. Okay. Let's try really. This is more complex. Well, no, I mean choruses are sometimes complex, but let's. Let's go ahead and get that simple now. So I would guess that there's a really good chance that this is going to be a slow process, as you know. Well, I mean, making music isn't quick. What the heck? As such, I do think that I will, because I'm having a good time here. I will probably stream some more tomorrow and continue to work on this song. I will mention it because we got about 15 minutes of this stream left for now. My long-term goal will be to have 2-hour streams, but for right now, 1.5 is kind of all my brain can really handle. I will try to get better. And I think here at the end, let's start out by going for a real basic beat, but then, oops. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, that's groovy. Dig it. Alright, so, and as I said, I'm also going to use that in the intro, but we definitely don't want the snare. Well, wait. Probably want the last bar of this. We don't want the cymbal at the very beginning either. Okay, let's get rid of this one as well. You know what? I don't like that open hat. I'm going to just put that back. Gonna have a drum fill of some sort there. Okay. So a lot of the time, for the bridges, I usually reuse or start by grabbing one of the beats. And what I'll frequently do is, like, if a chorus was the last thing before the bridge, then I'll use a verse. But I like to make I like to make each bridge a different beat, although that's not absolutely necessary. And I usually completely cut out even the kick bridge. But we're gonna want that symbol this time. So let's see. Okay. All right. So what we've got left, we'll create another beat for here, which I went and accidentally did not think to copy over when I had the basic groove already in place, so, but it's pretty quick to reproduce. 2, 3, 4. I don't. Yeah, well, let's see. Usually go real crazy with the beat in here. Well, still don't want to on the one though. Yeah, this is coming along nicely. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's again go to reuse that first bar for the repetition. Also going to do the same here. No, that's not where. Drive this. This is either going to sound awesome or terrible. I can't decide which it is. Let's try. Okay. It's an interesting idea, but it's not quite the way that I've got it done. Let's try this one instead. Yeah, that's okay. All right. Yeah, I think that's what we've done. Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, now definitely want a roll. In fact, let's come into, well, here's the other relevance of 64th notes is that 1/64th note in hey, you take it easy, Sparrow. We will catch you later. Actually, the stream has only got about a minute and a half left in it. I'm basically going to finish this beat, this pattern, and then we'll wrap up. But the relevance of the 64th notes, because it's 2 frames, which means that in PAL at least, that's 40 milliseconds, which is how long you have to let a note release to avoid the attack decay bug. And what that is when if you do your notes too close together, then you get this kind of weird um, sorry, I'm brain farting again. It doesn't reset the attack decay sustain release properly, and then you get this weird this, like, your notes just don't sound the way you intend them to anyway. But and of course, if you want to also support NTSC, then you kind of need to do 3 frames. So zoom into 128ths for that. Oh, right. Not a huge deal, but none of the rest of the, well, you know what? Let's go ahead. Since this is separate, I have not made any of the rest of them so that they have this in it, but since I'm about to do something a little, I may not though. I don't know that I'm going to be able to, because what I was going to try to do here is a tight drum roll, but I don't know that I'm going to have the timing for that. Well, I guess I could use 2 voices on the SID, which is not that unusual to be able to make things work. So, hmm. Wait, just. I do like how that sounded. But I wanted it in snares. Yeah, baby. That sounds great. I am definitely going to have to use 2 voices for it, but I think it'll be worth it. Yeah, that sounds sexy. Okay, so Okay. Close, but I don't like this part. Try some real teasing of the listener. Yeah. Okay. I think that's good. Let's see. Yeah, that will do. That will do. All right, so we got pretty close to getting the beat finished. All we got left is the fills, and then after that, we'll pick the chords. Obviously not this stream, because we're over an hour and a half now. So, I will, I guess, what, in about 6.5 hours, I'll be back, and we'll carry on. We'll finish up this beat and get started on the chords, like I said. Um, oh, yeah, right. So, to close, yeah, I want to thank, where's my cursor? Where's my cursor? I want to thank my patrons. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. And a huge shout out to the super cool people, Professor Falcon and Sparehead. Uh, especially, well, Sparehead, you are so appreciated, dude. You have been so helpful to me in so many different ways. Just thank you so much, man. If you'd like to be a supporter, you can check out my Patreon over at patreon.com/deathybas. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this session. I hope you guys enjoyed the change of pace. This will eventually be a SID tune, but for now, it's not. We will get there. Basically, as I said earlier, I like to create the song with placeholder real-world instruments first, and then try to get it to the SID. So, all right then. Switch over to the rating screen, and well, thank you to everybody that tuned in. Talk to you in a little under 7 hours.